Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle and triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. All right, the Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Jennifer Elia. I love that last name. Jennifer is a two-time Amazon best-selling author, blogger, and content marketer extraordinaire. She enjoys spending time with her family and getting grounded in her garden each spring. I welcome you to join us and listen to this journey that Jennifer is sharing today. This is a story of perseverance, heart, and what it looks like to never give up. Welcome, lady.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm well.
Awesome. I so appreciate you taking some time out of your day to hang out with us and share a little bit about your journey and what you're doing in the world at this moment. So, how are you? How are things?
I'm doing well. Things are busy, which is good. You know, it's a blessing to be busy, but it's also hard to keep up sometimes.
I hear ya. I hear ya on that. Well, like I said, I so appreciate you hanging out with us. I would love to just kind of give the floor to you and kind of allow you to talk about your life and some of the challenges, some of the victories that you've had throughout your life, and where you are now and how you've really evolved into what you're doing now and who you are now. If that's okay with you.
Sure, sounds great.
Awesome. Awesome.
Hi. I always had this dream of being a writer, and everybody told me you'll never make money doing that. And so there were a lot of things that went on. End up being a college professor, even though I said never be a teacher. And life went on, got married, had kids. And when I had my third child, they pressured me to come back really quickly. And I just wasn't ready. And I cried through like every single day at work. And he cried through every single day at the babysitter. And my mom was on hospice. And I just had like this thing click, like, this is my life. I'm not promised tomorrow. Like, I need to build the life that I want. And this is not what I want. Like, I don't want to be crying all day, worrying about my mom and my kids. So I had been writing part-time, ghostwriting and blogging for people. And I decided, you know what, I need to find a way to make this work and just stay home. And so I quit my job, and it was scary, but I stayed home with them and started working from home, and gradually built up a business. And I was humming along. I was enjoying it. It was great. And then 2020 hit. And as we know, that was a challenge for everyone. But the content marketing industry completely changed that year. My husband was a realtor, and with everything locked down, like, his business collapsed. And so we were sitting there thinking, like, what are we going to do? And in the midst of that, I had a massive cyber attack. And so as a professional writer, it was devastating because
Wait, how did you have a cyber attack? What happened?
I've talked to people at Google. I've talked to a cyber security expert. Like, nobody really knows exactly what happened, but somehow they got into my Google, not just my Gmail, but they got into the browser and went device to device and slowly wiped out everything that I had and the devices. So what I had backed up on my computer and backed up on the cloud and saved here was all gone. All of my social media presence was gone. Everything, all my contacts I had saved, gone. In fact, I didn't have any way to communicate with people or buy anything for 3 weeks because my bank accounts had gotten frozen because of it. My phones are wiped.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And this was right in the midst of the lockdown. So, you already have that, you're stuck home. And so there was a lot of soul searching there. And my husband and I sitting there saying, like, what are we going to do? And we really had to reevaluate our life and realize that we weren't living where we want, going back to that, like, we don't not promise tomorrow. We weren't living where we wanted to live. We weren't doing what we wanted to do. We had all these dreams that we had from the time we were teenagers because we grew up together, and we just weren't living them. And we said, well, you know what? I can work anywhere. Like, where do we want to live? And so that's what we did for 6 months, was we looked for where we wanted to live on the internet because we couldn't go anywhere. And we bought a house without seeing it. And we packed up our family and moved out here and started living the life that we always wanted to live. And we built a homestead. And I rebuilt my business from nothing. All I had left was LinkedIn. And I think it was because I forgot I even had a LinkedIn account. So there was no activity on there. And whoever hacked in just didn't even realize that it was important. So I had LinkedIn and I started networking, finding networks. And I said, I'm going to do this. And so that's what we did. Like, I built my business to support my family, and we live where we want to live and how we want to live. So that was about 1.5 years now since we did that.
Wow. Crazy.
Yes.
So I want to ask you a question. And the reason I want to ask this is because for a lot of people, getting hacked and losing everything would be very traumatic. Not to give or take towards what actually happened in your life, but what I would like to ask you is, how did you handle that? And how long did it really take for you to say, it is what it is, got to move on? Because some people would stay stuck in that for well into a year.
It took me a good few weeks to process what was happening. But I'm stubborn and I'm a problem solver. And I said, and also I have 4 kids. So, like, we had to get food on the table. I didn't have a year to just, like, shelter in place and not do anything. So there was that, but it was also that I'm not going to let this stop me. Like, I know that this is something that I've always wanted to do and that I can do. And, I just wasn't giving up. So it took, like, the first 3 weeks were kind of a blur. And then I powered through it, and I kind of crashed at, like, month 6. I went into like an emotional crash, like, it suddenly hit me. There are books that I've written that I don't own a manuscript to. I mean, they're on Amazon, and I've heard that there's a way that you can download, but, like, I don't physically own a copy, or, I can't go into my database and say, here's my book, I'm going to work on it.
Wow.
And so, like, it did hit me, but I was, again, I was like, I can't stay there, because that, and really it was a door that opened amazing opportunities. And so it was horrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I don't know that I'd choose to go through it, but the results of it pushed me to up-level my life in a way that I never would have. And it changed my family's life. It changed my business. And it was a good thing in the end.
Wow. I so appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of times people do get stuck. And whether survival or need to survive or kids or whatever, pulling themselves out of a situation like that can be mentally difficult and or impossible as they feel it to be. So, hearing that and realizing, and this was your whole life. It's not even like you're just a person who, some people are in today's society that don't really do a whole lot on social media or on, they work or whatever, but they don't have your life is like on the computer. And having to pick up and just keep going is crazy that you were able to get through it that quickly. I so appreciate you saying that. What would you consider to be your biggest failure?
I think my biggest failure was that for a long time, even though I was helping people with social media and I was helping people with online presence, I completely neglected my own and didn't build up like a database and stuff. I went mostly on referral for like 10 years. And so when I lost everything, I wasn't just starting from scratch. I was like redefining, like, how am I going to market myself now? Because I can't go by referral. I have no access to, the Facebook group or this or that, or, I can email this client, but everything all those systems that I had in place of going from one client to the next or picking up new clients were gone, and I had to start over. And I regret that I hadn't done for myself what I had done for other people, even though probably most of that would have been lost, but I still would have had that structure in place, and I had to kind of scramble to get it off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. When did it sounds as if you were kind of dabbling, I mean, I'm just assuming here in the self-development and personal growth well before this,
Mm-hmm.
because you got over it so quickly. I might be mistaken, but when did you actually kind of dive into, mental, emotional health?
I think there was a very traumatic period in my life where it felt like everything was falling apart. And I had a new baby that I had waited, like, we had been trying for 4 years to have. And so it seemed like we were at the top of our game and we had all these things in place. And then in a matter of weeks, it all fell apart. My mom got terminally ill with cancer. My dad died suddenly. I was left as a caretaker with babies of my own. And so there was so much going on. And I realized that my parents had been, my mom especially was a planner, and, they had so many plans for retirement that they were looking forward to. And that was always their goal. Like they talked about it every day about, what they would do and how they go to the golf course. And my dad wanted to drive the water trucks. If you've been to Florida, you know what water trucks are, to water the plants. And they never made it there. Like neither one of them ever retired. And it was this light bulb moment of, I can't keep living, I've lived my life to like get through high school, get through college, get married, have the baby. And it's always been like, we'll get to the next thing. We'll get to the next thing. And I am a planner, but I realize I can't just live in my plans. I need to live in today. And I need to take charge of today and not just say, well, I'll wait till things get better. Because that 10 years down the road might not happen. And then I'll have all this time that I've wasted. And so I don't want to waste time. It's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.